Good evening. I will call the meeting to order at this time. If you will, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. This time I'll call on Councilman Scott, if he will lead us in the invocation, please.
Certainly. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening, Lord, that we come together as a group of citizens in the community that we care so much about, Lord. We pray that you help us make the best decisions that reflect every person, regardless of their race, their color, their income, or anything about them. Father, we pray a special prayer over today's election, Lord, that you'll bring transparency and honesty back into our country and our local people as well, Father. We lift all this up in your holy name, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I know Mayor Pro Tem Wood is not feeling well this evening, so he is not going to be in attendance this evening. Do have a couple of known changes to the agenda. There is one to add to the consent agenda, a special event for Easter reenactment. Centenary United Methodist Church is requesting to close South 2nd Street from Johnston Street to Market Street, as well as, which is not typed in here, but it's from, did you say Market Street?
Front Street to 4th Street on Market.
Okay, Front Street to 4th Street on Market on March the 24th from 3:45. It says till 7, is that right, Ted?
That's what they said, but that's for cleanup.
Okay. But I don't think the streets are going to be closed that long, yeah. And then we then have item number 12 is a special event also being asked to be on the consent agenda, Transgender Day of Visibility. Bennett Chapman is requesting to hold a speaking event in March on Sunday, March 31st from 4 until 6 p.m. at the corner of Market Street and South 2nd Street. And that does include amplified sound. We also need to add a closed session to tonight's meeting pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, Section A5 to consult with the attorney. And that's all of the known changes that I have. Do we have any other changes to the agenda at this time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move consent agenda number 4 to business item number 5. I know you got number 5. I want to move business number 5 to the last, which I got another change I want to make. Okay, so I want to move business item number 4, consent item number 4 to business item number 5. And then I'd like to move consent item number 8 to business item number 6. And then that would make the budget discussion business item number 7. I'm just pushing the last one down. Business discussion budget discussion. So moving 4 and 8 to business items,
Okay.
5 and 6.
Okay. Any other changes? Okay. All right. If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so no presentations this evening, no public hearings this evening as well. So we will move right into citizens' comments. If anyone is wishing to speak, I do have some folks that have signed in. If you will, please state your name and address for the record, and I will ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. So if anyone, sure. Yep, if you just come up to here and just, if you will, state your name and address for the record.
Okay.
And,
My name is Lindsay Bean, B-E-A-N. I live at 10 Alpine Court in Smithfield, North Carolina. Eden Woods subdivision. I've lived there 21 years now. Do I just start now?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
I live at 10 Alpine Court, and I maintain my house very well, and so do the other neighbors around me, except for 9 Alpine Court. Literally right on top of me is a vacant house. It's been vacant for over 10 years. Nobody goes inside the house. Nobody opens the door. Nobody opens the windows, front door, back door. It's just not been touched in over 10 years. I don't know where the owner is. Last address I was given, I wrote him a certified letter. He's a doctor, and it came back to me unopened. So I have no idea how to even reach him to tell him that the house needs attention. He needs to come and see his house. He does not come. He hasn't in over 10 years. There's termites. I have pictures from my porch. You're welcome to these pictures. There's termites, there's ants, there's bees. The front door looks like someone has kicked it in. There's bees all over the house. They come to me. If I'm scared I'm gonna get stung. This is the front door. I zoomed in. I'm not sure what's happened, but no one has come to the house. There is one man that comes. He is not the owner. I don't even know his name, his last name, or anything like that. He moves cars. That's all he does. He comes and leaves cars. And it's all hours of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, doesn't matter, all day long. Comes with like 3 cars, parks, switches plates. I've seen him do this. I don't know what he's doing. I don't ask. And then he leaves. And then he comes back and does it again. And I'm like, what is going on? And I don't know. I just think the situation needs to stop. I mean, I live in my house. Nobody lives in this house. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know what to do. I've tried to get a hold of the owner. I don't know where he is. I think it's a health hazard because of the bees and the snakes. I've been bitten before. I think it's a fire hazard. And I've looked up and researched other town ordinances, and I know for a fact my hometown of Winchester, Virginia, this would not be happening. He would be fined $500 a month if this stuff was going on where I grew up, so I'm not used to it. So I have that as a printout. Raleigh wouldn't allow the pine straw to get as bad as it is. It's really bad. That's the house. There's no evidence of grass. You have an ordinance for grass, but there's no grass, so then what do? I don't know. I think the car situation needs to be stopped, especially with the switching the plates and leaving them and coming at 4 o'clock in the morning, waking me up, waking my daughter up, scaring us. My dogs bark, and it's been going on for over 10 years.
So, do you want to leave those pictures with us, or
I can.
if you, I mean, you can, you don't have to.
I can. I mean,
If you don't, if you
I
don't
live
mind.
next door. I can get more pictures.
If you don't mind, yeah. And then manager, you will, I think you're aware of some of the stuff,
Yes.
but if you will.
It has my name and everything on there.
We can make
know,
it if you
yeah.
want.
You know
And
the
it-
address to that property?
9 Alpine Court, I'm 10. It is, if you're pulling up to Alpine Court, he is on the left and I'm in the middle.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and I'd like to get a hold of him so I can, get some trees down and stuff like that, but I can't. I don't know how to get a hold of him.
Right, okay.
So that's the main
We
thing.
probably only have the same address you do, so, yeah. Anyway, thank you. Chief, do you mind maybe even beefing up patrols and Ms. Mean, I would encourage you to, if you see things like that going on at hours of the night or early in the morning, like you said, 2 o'clock in the morning, feel free to call the police, right? You can tell the 911 dispatcher it's a non-emergency, but tell them what's going on so that we're not sending, emergency vehicles out there and putting our staff in danger. But you just tell them it's a non-emergency, here's what's going on, can you send an officer over? And I'm sure they would be more than willing. I mean, I know they will. I'm not more than willing, they will be there, yeah.
I'm just concerned they may say, oh, we have permission.
Yeah, and they may, but they also, but they can certainly check into it for you as well. So, right,
If the house condition itself, someone needs to do something.
yeah, okay, thank you. All right, anyone else wishing to speak? If you will, please state your name and address for the record, and ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please, ma'am.
My name is Alice Holder Vick. I've been coming out to our city councilman board meeting for a while. pretty much my plea is still the same. I have documentation that it is indeed SS Police Force. I have 12 millimeters tore up under the skin where I feel as I was unlawfully arrested. I have since then filed a complaint with Mr. Scott, trying to get these officers trespassed off my property until these legal matters are resolved in our judicial court system. I've been following the trial that's going on down here at our judicial court system here for the last 2 days. And the constitutional civil rights belongs to all Americans, not creed and color or who you know type of status thing. My first bond, I'm disabled. I also have a letter here from the disability office. I've been receiving disability for the past 10, 11 years. I wouldn't want nobody that went through the nightmare and terror that I went through at 503 Bridge Street. These 3 officers there, I notice y'all open in order. Y'all do the Pledge of Allegiance, and it says justice and liberty for all. I don't feel as though I'm getting justice. I'm entitled to speedy due process of the law, which I've been denied up thus far. I'm entitled to have a pet if I so desire to choose on private property, in which I have permission from my landlord. I've been going to court every month just to get put off. They put me on a 2-hour delay. Well, I wrote a letter on December the 29th stating my concerns for my safety in my home, the same way these gentlemen came in my home, sir, without a warrant or any infraction of law. The reason why I want them trespassed from my property, because on the same reason, and they can come to my property and hurt me even further. I do feel that those people back in the day that got drugged by slave owners, those still handcuffs didn't bend for me not one bit. I did complain to them. They physically took part of the mobility in my right hand, which I'm scheduled to have a surgery. My hand don't operate no more. I was much heavier then, but to be dragged to the back, it was very painful. And then add insult to the injury, Mr. Joseph Young right here, I don't know where he went to, but what I do know for sure is that Mr. James Siddich went to the Johnston County Sheriff Department and got booted back to the Smithfield Police Department. My neighbor lost her husband on December the 24th. I had to call the police officer because my home was getting disrespected. I don't drink, nor do I consume alcohol, and I don't want you disrespecting my property, sitting out there drinking. It was death right next door to me over there, and I asked my nephew to leave my property, and when I called Smithfield, Mr. James Siddich, who I was assuming still with the Johnston County Sheriff Department, he came out, add insults to injury. Everybody have a family member that we wish will found the Lord, but I was sitting in my residence after December the 29th, after I wrote the letter to Mr. Scott saying I was in fear for my life because they keep coming around me. Now, what he did do, he came out in plain clothes. I just don't understand why they keep using these same officers that I know for a fact tore tendons in my arms. A lot of arrests go down and people don't get hurt. Not to the point where you need surgery. I physically have problems now washing this side of my body, and I'm wearing out the left hand because I'm doing more. I've been wearing this brace for the past 5 or 6 months. And I want State Bureau investigator called in, or I want Miss Susan Dorr to call in DA and private investigator, because I have videos, I have photos, my incident documented at the Johnston Memorial Hospital. These things been said for a period of time now in our city councilman board meeting. And all far as it goes is me coming up here, stating what I'm stating, and then nothing's getting done. It should be fair to all citizens. I've been a law-abiding citizen here in Smithfield for the past 6 years.
Thank you, Ms. Vick. I've got your 4.5 minutes right now.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine, but I think we kind of the same, right, that we've heard. So, so Mike, I know you're aware of that situation as well. So, but thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
I just want to trespass off my property, these matters are resolved in our judicial court system. I think that's very fair.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. State your name and address, please, for the record, and I will ask you to try to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, please. Thank you.
I'm Peter Holtz. I live at 215 North 3rd Street. And I want to make a few remarks, in particular about the Buffalo Road rezoning request, one of the business items here, and I understand that it's going to be tabled, as there's a request for it to be tabled, but I noticed in reading things that Wingate Lassiter here has written in his online newspaper that in the past little bit, these developments that have come up, there continues to be variances allowed. Okay, they're allowed to put more houses on a place, shrink the property, the yards down. Oh, we don't need a road that wide. They shrink that down. Those kind of things, and those are detrimental to our environment. This place here, if it's not on wetlands, it's adjacent to wetlands. There are environmentally sensitive areas. It is very close. It may even adjoin. I have not seen the map. The Buffalo Creek Greenway, which is part of the Mountains to the Sea Trail, and is also the East Coast Greenway. So I'm going to ask, since these variants have been granted in the past, I don't know if y'all have been out Buffalo Road, other side of Durwood Stevenson Parkway, that new development out there. Those places are hideous. Would you live in a place like that? That's really all I got to say. Please consider the environmental sensitivity of that place and what it's going to look like. There are schools out there. There are other parks nearby. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Okay. If you will, please state your name and address for the record, and again, I'll ask to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
This will be quick. Terry Ballot, the Twisted Willow, about the farmer's market. I put all the paperwork in, and I hear it's not going to be discussed until April 2nd. My only concern is, at this point in time, all the vendors that I normally get start getting their gigs for the year early, so they're already in. My concern is I'm going to lose a bunch of them because they're already asking me, the dates and all that. I was just wondering what might be the holdup on it. I didn't know if it was because of I wrote alcohol on it or not, because we were planning in July and August to make them evening events, almost like a Third Streetery, but not a Third Streetery where we're not having a big band, where if we have a band, it's going to be in front of the courthouse and like one or two playing like a violin or something. This is more of a trying to get more of the downtown businesses open on Friday night in July and August, plus July and August are the hottest months. And I'm just concerned of having it Saturday mornings on those months. And I had a few vendors that had to leave last year because of the heat and everything. I just didn't know, since we're not doing Third Streeteries anymore, if it was concerning of that or whatever. I just didn't know if there was anything I could answer questions on.
So we normally do not take up any action during citizens' comments, but I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm assuming we haven't gotten this. You're aware of it? Okay. All right.
Is there another meeting coming up soon that we could discuss this? For the mere fact, I just don't want to lose a lot of vendors, and I want to pull it off a little bit better this year than last year.
I think we can take it up with the manager and figure it out.
See
if we can figure
Okay.
it out. Yeah.
That'd
But
be great.
I'm not aware. I wasn't even aware it was an application. So
That's fine.
So yeah.
Just
so we'll
throwing
get,
it out
We'll
there.
figure it
If
out.
there's
We'll
any
get with staff
questions,
and
just, yeah,
get with them and
be in
figure it
touch
out.
with me. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. right, anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' comments? Okay, not seeing any. We will now move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to our first business item, which is CZ-23-01 Buffalo Road rezoning request. Mike, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council might recall that this is a request for conditional zoning of a little over 138 acres of land from R8 to R20A to R8CZ. At the last month's meeting, the council tabled this matter after closing a public hearing to tonight's meeting. The applicant has not been able to prepare the changes they would like to present to the council by tonight's meeting, and they were asking that this again be tabled until the April 2nd, 2024 town council meeting. So what we would need from the council is just a motion and a vote to table this agenda item again until April 2nd.
Have a motion to table to April 2nd?
I make a motion, we table to April 2nd.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Move now to business item number 2, discussion concerning wholesale electric rate increase. Ted?
Gentlemen, thank you. Tonight I've come to talk to you about a proposed electric rate hike. I'm not asking for any action to be taken by the council this evening, but staff felt it was this conversation needed to begin in the open in public hearing so all customers would understand why this is occurring. So in accordance with the normal budget procedures, we will seek action to be taken during those budget meetings when we address the fee schedule. So in 2020, the town asked UFS to conduct a rate study regarding electric rates. Their study did include a 2% rate hike for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. What the study did not foresee was the 70% increase in the price of natural gas in 2022. Natural gas made up 35% of all Duke Energy generation in 2022, and in turn, the cost of producing the energy rose. The end result is Duke Energy saw a very large deficit in the year-end true-up with all bulk customers, including Nekempa, which we're a member of. So the total deficit for 2022 was $53 million. You can see it, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you elaborate before you go much further on what a true-up is?
Yeah, we get charged like consumption-wise like anyone else does on what we use, but the certain costs of transportation costs and the fuel costs are not done per what they pay. They're done on futures and other type of economic indicators. So at the end of the year, they go back and look what their actual costs were. And you can see in the last years, based on the chart, they don't fluctuate too much. But the rise in natural gas prices last year caused an incredible spike in their energy costs. So when they true up at the end of the year, do we owe them more or do we owe them less? And in years past, we've gotten credits and we've paid more, and they're generally pretty small. It just happened that 2022 was a very nasty year for gas prices. So there's an amazing amount of debt still owed. That's how they do that. We get in much more detail later, but that's kind of what that is.
So the deficit being $53 million, in order to meet contractual obligations, the Nakempa Board passed Rider, which is a fee tacked onto the bill, Rider 122, which will be placed on the monthly bill beginning in April and lasting for 24 months. For Smithfield, that rider is over $50,000 a month. So Duke Energy ran into some economic issues related to power generation, which in turn increased their cost. And they, of course, passed that on to Nakempa, which, well, they didn't pass it on, they incurred it, and we owe it as per contractual obligation. So that's bad news, obviously, having a rider. But unfortunately, that's not quite the end of the issue. Future economic indicators are also pointing to the fact that the 2023 true-up may likely be another large energy debt owed by Duke in the area of around $40 million. So in order to head this off, Nakempa will raise the monthly rate by 2%, which is also effective in April. So the end result of this economic turbulence, if you will, is that public utilities will be seeking a 6% rate increase to cover these costs. The 6% is in accordance with the scheduled increase. It will cover the $53 million, or our portion of the $53 million true-up, and also the 2% for anticipated true-ups that look like they're pending. So 6% does seem like a large jump. So what does 6% really look like? So here are the current rates for Smithfield and some surrounding towns, including Duke Energy, for all the lovely citizens that live out in West Smithfield and other parts. Note that the average customer using about 1,000 kilowatts a month pays just under, right now, about just under 114. That's the red, that's Smithfield proper. So after a 6% raise, that number would increase to just under $121 a month, which is an increase of $7 a month. So again, I'm not asking for any action to be taken this evening, and we can discuss at greater length and in a lot more detail at budget meetings, but staff did feel it prudent to let the public know what the proposed increase is going and a little bit of why. And that's all I have, gentlemen. If there's any questions, even if I can't answer, I'll certainly write it down and get that answer back to you.
Any questions for Ted or staff?
Mayor, I have a few things. Mr. Criddle, thank you for you and your staff for preparing this. I think it's important that we point out, I do have one question before I go into much discussion. The slide on page 6, could you roll back to that one if you don't mind, sir?
I'm sorry, which one is that, Trev?
Number 6.
Page 6.
It's electric rate discussion. It's the one that's got the green header at the top. It shows the comparison. There you go. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, obviously this is based on of total sales by the utility, in other words, the town. But the percentage over to the far right column on each one of those, what makes that variable? Or you may not have a specific on that, I'm just curious.
Yeah, so the rider was determined, it's a weighted average of all the towns and the cities. It just weights on all the members.
Okay.
And so by that's how they chop it up. If we're obviously bigger than, say, Scotland Neck, so significantly so. So you can see that's how they weight it out. That total Nakempa is the 53 million, and you can see what the monthly, they're just doing straight division for that. Ours is weighted, and whether that's a percent, the percent of annual charges, it just works out. That's the math of it all. I will seek to get a more in-depth explanation for that.
With that, Mr. Cradle, I'm curious if that goes back to the original capacity of stock that was bought. It's very
Okay,
possible.
yes. It actually, this is based on the reason what we're weighted on was based on something on the initial asset sale of 2016 or 2015, whatever that was.
Yeah, and the other comment I would like to make, if you could go back to your rate comparison on our slide, it's page 11. Mr. Cradle, thank you for taking the time to keep this up to date. I believe that as of January 1, 24, and I track this stuff because I care about the citizens, want to make sure we're efficient. I know that Duke Energy has introduced about 6 riders, and it's very complicated even for a user, but I did find the rate study, but I don't believe that's accurate. Did you do an average, or do you know if we've updated that?
All right, so I know where I got it all from. Every town on there has got a website. Duke Energy obviously doesn't have a website where they post that. That came directly from Rocky Mount, does a very similar table.
Yeah.
And the Rocky Mount City website has Duke Energy listed as such. So if I'm in error, I will,
I'm
Be in error.
certain that that's off by about $45.
oh, wow.
But anyway.
Oh, wow, I'm sorry.
No, it's very complicated, but the rate model I was able to locate on the Duke Energy's website for the eastern section. But anyways, thank you. I just want to make sure we make it clear, serving on this council, one of the compassionate things I was about, and my original reason for being interested in serving on this council was about this very topic. And as we enter into this 6% increase, I think it's important we point out that we are operating our utility very, very efficient. And, and that all reflects on how much money you spend and how much money you have to charge to cover the cost. I say that to say, Mr. Credo, we put in a rate stabilization fund, and it covered us a couple rate increases in the past. I would like for us to look into that and see if what that line item looks like. I know it can absorb that, but as we move forward with the debt payoff, that's an opportunity to establish more money into that account so that we can avoid 90% of the rate increases. But obviously, we have to recover the funds without being in a deficit to maintain the utility healthy. I just want the citizens to understand that. This is very complicated. But on that same note, there's one other statement I want to make that's hugely important. And this council was given the data by UFS and along with Mr. Creedle and his staff that of our 100% customer base, the residential customers make up about 24% of the load. And I would ask that you, Mr. Creedle, and your staff take that into consideration when you adjust these models. That way we have the least impact on our residential customers. At the end of the day, that is why we serve in this town. And our customers, they may make up 80% of the total customers, but only 20% of the use, and that's where our bill's generated. And I just think it's important to point that out. And the data speaks for itself. I may be off on my number a little bit, but I'm pretty sure there's a margin of error there. But if you can look at that chart, that is real numbers. And I'm very thankful that we're able to do that. And I think it's important that we fairly say that as a residential comparison. That doesn't compare our industrial and our commercial, which we still need to work on. But I'm very passionate about that. If anybody wants to talk about this, I'd be glad to talk with you about this. I think it's important. Now is a good time to mention that as we come into budget planning, this council needs to take that into consideration for futures, much like with this true up, where that rate stabilization fund can come in to help us. And we all can contribute a little as we go, and it won't have this much impact, which is relatively not as significant as it could have been, looking at the data. But thank you. I just want to thank you for your help, Mr. Credo, and we'll get that up to date and make sure that we get those numbers correct.
Anyone else? Comments?
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
So, Ted, real quick, by my math, 6% increase based on the numbers that you provided equates to about $6.86 a month per customer. Is that about right?
That's the number I got, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to point that out. So people understand what 6% really looks like.
Right.
Thank you.
Tom? Thank you. Good point. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving down to our next business item, which is the special event for Ham and Yam Festival. Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation is requesting to modify the annual event to include the sale of alcohol. Stephen?
Yes, sir. This was a temporary event application, and Mr. John Ballot here is here to describe the event for the council. And there's a presentation.
And John, you're on behalf of the Downtown Development Corporation.
Yes, I'm
is
John
that
Bellon, I'm the president of the DSDC. So putting on this year's Ham and Yam event, as most of you are aware, the DSDC's had a lot of changes in the last few months, most notably the promotions committee is now taking over the implementation and planning of the Ham and Yam. So what we have decided to do, we would like to show that we've not skipped a beat in all the changes that we've made. So we would like to go bigger, better, make it something that we can all be proud of. So as we're looking at this, we've made a lot of changes in the event when we've reduced the booth rent and everything to the point where we now have probably close to 200 vendors instead of 47 vendors that we had last year. So the event is going to be significantly larger as a whole. But something else that we've done, we've taken a look at the surveys that we've sent out, and we've also, by word of mouth, we have to take a look at the criticisms and the comments that we've had from the community come in, and one of the most common criticisms that we've had is that there's no beer or wine at the event. So we would like to remedy that, as we do with a lot of the other events that we do downtown. So in our idea of what we would do with that is we still have the amphitheater stage down by the waterfront on Front Street, and we have the 3rd Street stage, which will be right in front of the courthouse on the 3rd Street side. So on Front Street, what we're planning on doing is having 2 beer tents on either side of the amphitheater area, and having the purchasing and consumption of beer, and if we do get wine vendors, in that area only. So it would be Front Street and in the amphitheater area. There would be signage at the end of each end of the 100 block of Front Street saying no alcohol beyond this point. Same thing on the 3rd Street side. We would have beer vendors flanking either side of the 3rd Street stage, and there would be signs again at either end of the 100 block of 3rd Street saying no alcohol beyond this point. So, and I've already discussed this with the police chief, Hedrick, and his captains, and they didn't seem to think that it would be an issue on their part. I asked them if they would have to increase their staffing. They said they did not believe they would have to do so.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
So is it just for the 100 block, or is it the 100 and 200 block?
Just the 100 blocks of Front and 3rd Streets.
Okay.
Go back to the first on Front Street, because
This says 100 and 200 blocks, I'm saying.
so it would end at Johnson.
No, it's just the 100 block. Sorry.
So no entry, not at the corner, but it would end at Johnson Street, correct? In front of the Hastings house?
Right in front of the Hastings house. Yeah, right where Front meets Johnson.
What's the time?
The event will be from 10 until 7, and we believe the alcohol sales would be from 12 until 7. And the sales would be by the actual beer vendors themselves. This is what they do for a living, it's their livelihood. They know when they can and can't serve somebody, or when they shouldn't serve somebody.
Mr. Block, thank you for what you're doing for downtown and what your help. I personally, I'll just be blunt about it. I'm not a fan of this in any way. However, I have an open mind, but I do have some questions for you, sir. With all professional courtesy, I'm just curious if you or your family ever had the opportunity to attend the Ham and Yam event under the tenure of Mr. Chris Johnson.
Under Chris Johnson, no, I don't.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever, and I'm just curious, again, this is for my reference, have you ever been a part of the Benson Mule Day event?
A part of, no, but have I been there? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I asked that for several reasons, because I'm very optimistic of seeing the Ham and Yam come back to what it once was. And in those days, it was a big event, and things changed. And without pointing fingers, right or wrong or indifferent, whatever energy it takes to bring it back is fantastic. However, this is historically a family event. A lot of the participants, specifically the stage that you spoke of on Third Street was all church events. Matter of fact, the church that I was affiliated with and very proud of sponsored that stage without any cost of downtown. I say that to say that changes the dynamics, because beer and alcohol don't go with church and children, and I struggle with that personally. I also realize that in the evening, when you have a concert environment, under the right circumstances, that those things are appropriate if it's managed properly. And I have talked with some other folks about this, just out of curiosity, and I didn't think that we had a solid plan. Tonight, you presented more of a plan than we've seen. This is new to us, the organization. But I just wanted to put those on the table. I can't support it, but I'm open-minded about it in regards to how it's going to enhance the festival. And I'm open for discussion. I certainly am.
Well, and to your point about family-friendly, the majority of the event is non-alcohol consumption, non-alcohol sales. There's still the bounce houses and the parking lot directly across the courthouse, across the Second Street side. There's going to be a petting zoo and pony rides in the parking lot across the Johnson Street side in that parking lot. There will be ice cream as far as the eye can see and all the different types of kids type of food all in that area. And speaking about families or their kids and their adults, and adults do drink sometimes, and that's why we do have that at the ends to offer a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate the clarification, because when I got my package, it was talking about the sections to be blocked off. And when I originally read that, I thought that was the area you wanted to serve the alcohol in, but you're limiting it to those two one-block areas, correct? So, for example, on Second and Third Street, all of Second Street that's encompassed in this will be alcohol-free. Half of the Third Street, half of the Front Street, and Johnson Street will be alcohol-free.
And the two large parking lots would all be alcohol-free. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That it just didn't come across that way when I read it. So,
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, John, for what you're doing. This event has meant a lot to me over the years. Sorry, seemed like my granddaddy, and putting this on. He was one of the founding starters of it. And, sorry.
It's okay.
Think about it. I get talking about booze and get emotional. I'm not getting emotional about the booze part. I promise you. So it's come a lot along. It had its ups and downs, like every event, every issue. It's changed. I think we are on a strong trajectory off of last year's success. With WRL and tourism getting behind it, and we've got a now an official committee who is working together to promote this. I've been sitting in on as many of those as I could, and I feel very confident about what this team is doing to promote this festival. Yes, I sponsor it too. Always have, always will. So anything we can do to, we're in Smithfield, it's a vast variety of attendees. But, you know, this is what it is, and I support having well-regulated beer. I would suggest that if we could maybe do some extra staffing during the event, just in general. I don't know how many we typically have, but we need to charge the DSDC for some overtime for some police officers, just to have extra police officers there. And in this area, I don't think y'all would mind that.
I mean,
if there's room in the budget, I mean, I think that could be discussed.
I think if that was a turning point to determine whether or not we could do it or not, I think we could probably discuss that within the DSCC. And approve.
I don't know what if there's how you make those, if there's a number of people, officers, and I don't know. So what is enough? I don't know. And, yeah, so anyways, appreciate what y'all are doing and keeping this thing going.
Any other questions, comments?
So in your discussion with the police chief, staffing is not going to be an issue for this?
Chief, if you don't mind, if you'll come forward, please.
That was gonna happen. That's all right.
Being new to town and not going through Hammond yet, I'm relying on my people that have been here before. I don't anticipate it being a problem. I don't think we're attracting the Mule Days crowd. I think we'll be better served if we have a few extra officers, so we can vary our staffing if we need to, and we'll prepare for that. But I think we can handle this easily.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, my voice is going. I can't help it. I'll do the best I can. My only concern is that just as our intent is to attract a different crowd that may want alcoholic beverages, because at the same time we attract that crowd, we're also alienating those other church crowd that will not show up to an event that has alcoholic beverages. They will not. I mean, they just won't do it. So therefore, that group of people, that group of people that would be more tendency to buy these valuable nuggets that are out there for sale on the thing, a lot of those people won't be there. They won't be there because they won't come for alcoholic beverages. Even if it's limited in a specific location, they're just not going to show up. I know them personally. I know them personally. They're not going to show up. And they're going to say, Smithfield's going the way of the world. Alcoholic beverages, to me, and I've said this before, so you know I'm not saying anything I don't, and I'm on the board with them too. But I would say it is sad that we have to legalize vice to increase our attendance at our events. And that bothers me. I think there needs to be a way that we can attract the family group by offering family activities that everybody can participate in, that's not offensive to anybody. And that's what we should be targeting, because if you have alcoholic beverages, you're going to offend some people. Nothing you do about it. You're going to offend some people. I mean, it's true, because there's a group that will not, that just won't. And I think it's unfortunate for us to try to offend anybody. If you don't have alcoholic beverages, will that offend people? No, they must not be happy because they wanted it. But that's not really offensive to people if you don't offer it. So I think I would be really careful about doing that. So I mean, obviously I'm not in favor of it either, but I understand the intent. I like my co-councilman here said, that in given certain situations where there's a majority adults are adults, you know, you expect to participate in that. Like example, if you had more towards the afternoon, evening type of events, you know, we've approved some stuff that was in here at the, you know, that we approved some other events today in the consent agenda that allowed it in that situation. But to me, the Ham and Yam Festival has always been a family event where everybody's welcome, and our intent is to offend nobody. And if you do alcoholic beverages, you're offending some people. That's my view. It's more of a statement, not a question. And let me say, John, you do an outstanding job, sir. You know that. I know you do an outstanding job. You guys, all of you guys, are working very hard, very diligent. So if we don't agree with you, it's not because we don't think you guys put forth the effort. You are, okay? Very strong effort. We just don't have to always agree on things, okay?
Well, I can also tell you though, is these events that we do is to promote the downtown and to, you know, bring business to downtown, so to assist our downtown businesses to, you know, increase their revenue. And what I can tell you, as my wife and I own the Twisted Willow, all these events we have, the ones where we do have the alcohol, the people stay longer, the people spend more money. That is the fact. So I can show you the numbers on that. But I understand your point.
Any other questions, comments?
No, more clearly clarify clarify myself earlier. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the history of it, and old pictures were all flashing through my head. To Dr. Barber's point, I understand, but this is having it sectioned off. I would be vehemently opposed to having it in areas throughout the whole thing. But to have it sectioned off, I think is a good middle ground. If it doesn't work, this will be the last year we do it. But I feel comfortable allowing it. My name is personally tied to it. I'm comfortable for this, giving it a try. If it gets out of hand, we'll reserve the right to send them packing immediately. And I don't think that's going to happen, but never can tell. So, thanks again for what y'all are doing.
Any other comments, questions? So, John, tell me again, how do you plan to section it off and maintain it just to those, I guess, the
tents
Third
themselves
Street
will be
block?
well within the area where you're allowed to purchase and consume. So there will be signage that we've used, much like any other events where we've had alcohol, at the end of the 100 blocks of Front and Third Streets saying no alcohol beyond this point. And of course, the police that will be monitoring the event will be able to see if somebody does happen to walk down Johnson Street carrying one, and nope, you got to turn around.
So why the ask for 2 locations? Is that because of?
Because we have 2
stage-
stages with live music
stages
all
where
day
the
long.
stages
And
are.
to the point where you said that the Third Street stage had always been, churches, and that's not the way it has been the last few years. It's first thing in the morning, it is. So we do have the choirs coming in the morning, and then we have the high school band. So at noon, it does transition over to country and bluegrass.
And sales would begin
Correct.
at noon?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Would there be any consideration of maybe limiting it to just the one area?
My concern with that is, I have a couple concerns with that. Number one, you have bands that are signing on to do the amphitheater. They have signing on to do Third Street, so you're not really being completely fair to them if you're saying, I'm going to put on Third Street. There's not going to be any alcohol down there, so the people are just going to pretty much walk through and not stay around. Amphitheater, they're going to stick around. So that's a concern. Also, to my point about the Twisted Willow, when we have the alcohol down there on Third Street, the people stay, the people spend money. So, and that's really, because when we're trying to support the downtown businesses in these events, it's great that we have this beautiful amphitheater down there by the waterfront, but there's really no businesses anywhere close to it. So you're not really supporting businesses by having events there. So down Third Street, you certainly are.
Any other comments, questions? Yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't, I enjoy going and getting a good craft beer, from some of the vendors, and I personally have, right, from some of those vendors. So, all for trying new things and seeing if it works, and if it doesn't work, then we certainly can take the privilege away next time. But I think times change and things change, and we ought to change with the times, right? But not to say, I'm not saying we should turn this into some ham and yam into some, drunken fest or anything. But yeah, I don't. Hearing what I've heard about being able to contain it, I would like to see it in just one area, though. To be honest with you, I understand the bans but also I think it's easier to control it and to maintain people walking from one area and wanting, going back and forth, But I don't know that that's a huge deal, as long as I've heard from the chief, and the chief said he feels like they can handle it, right? But,
Mayor, may I make another comment? And only observation, Mr. Blott, in regards to some of the older times when things were, I can't say better, I'll say different. But I remember you had your day event, and I think you're planning from 10 to 7, is that correct?
Yes.
7, okay. So just hearing from some of the vendors that were in the area of Front Street, they were a little bit less satisfied with the talent that drawed the crowd. for the food sales and such. However, in the evening, a lot of people packed up and went home, and then the crowd drew to the main amphitheater, and that was more of a headliner event, if you will. And I don't know if you thought about that model either, but, I mean, I can tell you that was very successful from my perspective and what I remember recalling from the crowds, but just want to make that point.
Well,
'cause-
there's going to be significant changes this year. I mean, we noticed that in the application process, we had a lot of vendors when we first put them out, reaching out saying, I know you're not accepting new vendors this year, but, and we're like, why are you saying that? It was directly written on the applications, we do not anticipate accepting new. So we had that removed from every application, and now we have a ridiculous number of people pouring out wanting to get. So, and I'm not going to throw any names under the bus, but that's where we are. So we have probably over 200 vendors that have reached out, and it's going to be quite large.
And the talent they seem to be, I mean, it seems to be a.
Yeah, we're exploring options, like.
Yeah, I think they look at some stuff for next year. This year they're a little more undergun, but ahead of where they have been.
Getting more sponsorship for next year and potentially.
We gotta get more people
it used to
involved, back when, I hate to talk about back when Chris was running it, he could go get everybody and their brother to sponsor, and he had a whole lot bigger budget to work with. So that's why just baby steps is in the process that conversations I've been a part of, baby steps to build on it and to gather that funding to get, I mean, we need a $30,000 band budget to get probably to have back more of a headliner type situation.
Understand.
So he's on some budgetary constraints on the types of bands, so.
I still have people come up to me about the Little River Band that we had. That was probably before you were born.
I remember when we had, who we had?
I had Little River Band, and it was
Lionel
incredible. Yeah.
Eddie Money.
Eddie Money, Molly Hatchet,
Molly
Night
Hatchet.
Ranger.
Yeah.
These are the bands, the quality of bands we'd like to get back to.
Yeah.
But
Anyway. Okay, well, good. I mean, certainly appreciate all the hard work that yourself and others are doing, to make it happen this year, one way or the other. So I certainly appreciate that. So, any other questions, comments for staff or for downtown development? Thank you, sir. All right. It's the pleasure of the council. Yes.
yeah, I guess I'd like to make a motion to approve beer and wine sales at the Ham and Yam as presented by Mr. Billat on Front and Third Street with police presence and I guess how we.
Police presence.
With more police presence and.
What we've seen in the past.
And with the option for the police chief to make the decision to pull the plug if things get out of hand on alcohol sales.
Okay. All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Mike, did you?
Yeah, I'd like to make a point.
If
I appreciate John's work and everybody's work on this, and I don't have any problem with the alcohol sales either, but I think what's been presented here tonight isn't nearly enough regulation. Like you said, Councilman Stevens, this needs to be well regulated.
Yeah.
I would ask that the motion include that the staff needs to approve all of the security measures and the abilities to keep juveniles from getting a hold of the alcohol and prohibit it from leaving the intended sites that have been presented tonight.
All right. I'd like, I guess, to redo my motion. How do we do that?
You can
I need to
amend
rescind
that
it and
motion. Yeah,
amend.
You can amend your motion at this time.
I'd like to amend the motion to have the increased security be approved by staff and as they see fit with the.
The security and the service of the alcohol.
in regards to how alcohol is served and the security around it.
Councilman Dunn, are you okay with that amendment?
I re-second.
Yeah. All right. So we have amendment and a second. All right, any further discussion on it? Not. All right, do I have a motion to approve the motion? Made? I mean, all in favor, sorry. Sorry, not a motion. Sorry. All in favor of the motion, excuse me. Sorry about that. Aye. All opposed?
No.
No.
All right, so show of hands.
Just 3 and 3.
Okay, so I will vote in the affirmative for the motion. So motion carries. So, thank you. All right. Moving on now to our next business item, consideration and request for approval to award a bid in the amount of $274,800 to Joe Johnson Equipment for the purchase of a garbage truck for the Public Works Sanitation Department. Lawrence, how you doing, sir?
Good. Hope everybody's doing well.
Doing well.
Good evening, Councilman. Under the current budget year, we were allocated $300,000 to purchase a garbage truck. As you know, the condition with the garbage trucks in the past, and we're trying to get it up to par. We reached out to 3 different vendors, Carolina Environmental System, Amic Equipment, and Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson, as you see, had the lowest bid, but I think they had the biggest bang for the buck. And they also had the courteous to give us a 5-year warranty on all the plan. Now, the trucks normally come with a 2-year warranty. All trucks that we have purchased in the past had a 1-year warranty on the body or 2-year warranty on all the other amenities on the truck. This year, I try to look and try to project and make sure that we have warranties to protect the truck. If we were to keep it 8 to 9 years, we could say, hey, for 3 years, we had kept this maintenance, but 5 years, this company took care of the maintenance. All we are asking for is the approval of the purchase of the truck, which is $274,800. And if you guys so choose to go with the 5-year warranties, that is a totaling of $14,193.
I thought you said they were going to give us the warranty.
What was that?
I thought you said they were going to give us the warranty.
Well, they do.
He said they gave it to us, all right.
They offered us. I mean, we can go with the standard truck with 2-year warranty. Yeah,
I'm just kidding. All right, any questions, comments, thoughts, which way we should go?
Mayor, I'd like to make a couple comments. Mr. Davis, I would like to say to you, to your staff, extremely thank you for what they do daily in regards to specifically the sanitation department and picking up the utility, the garbage and the recycling, yard debris. But one thing in regards to this, I think now is appropriate time to speak to you. Can we just make certain that those guys have all the safety equipment they need, specifically the lights on the rear of those trucks?
Yes, sir.
I know that we've suffered some mishaps with people not seeing the trash or trying to pass the truck. And there was one event I personally was at near my neighborhood, and we were very, very fortunate that the injuries were less than what they were. But I think that those lights will have a better impact. Too much is too much sometimes, but 1 or 2 isn't. And I know our current trucks have them, but can we just make sure that that's a safety thing that we check and we make sure is on these trucks?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
It's budgeted.
Motion and a second. One thing I would.
Without the warranty.
Well,
Yeah.
it certainly needs a warranty.
Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure.
So that's with the warrant, the motion with the
Yes.
warranty. Okay. And then one thing just to touch on what Councilman Scott said, because I was thinking it myself, but not just the lights, but I see, like our emergency services vehicles and fire trucks, they're painted on the back with the fluorescent
Chevrons.
paint. Is that, I mean, I get it, it might get banged up and so forth, but is that something that we could look to do? I've seen it myself, right in front of my neighborhood too, an accident, right? And most of the time, it's due to probably someone looking down at their cell phone, so I don't care how many lights or how much paint you put on it. They're looking down at their cell phone, they're looking down at their cell phone. But I don't think we can, we can be too cautious, especially when we have people riding on the back of those trucks sometimes, especially in neighborhoods. I don't know that they're riding on the back on the highways, but, in neighborhoods and so forth, I don't think we can be too careful. So I certainly would agree with that, and we certainly ought to look into the possibility of doing something like that as well, too, if we can.
Sure.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? All right, motion is second. All in favor? Purchase?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
He was slick, man. He said, well, they give us the warranty for a fee. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
It's free for a fee.
Did you call about that? Who was you?
Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to our next business item, which was one that was pulled from the consent agenda. Special event, Red, White, and Brews Festival. Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation is requesting to hold an event in the 100 block of South 3rd Street on Sunday, June 30th, from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. The request includes the closure of the 100 block of South 3rd Street, amplified music, food, truck sales, and alcohol sales will be allowed. That Stephen? Yeah, who's doing this?
I'm sure John's going to have.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is a DSDC event, so John Ballot is again here to discuss it with you.
This is an event that we held last year for the first time as a lead up to the Independence Day celebration, which is the fireworks and the concert at the amphitheater. And it was, we did it last year, it was very well received. And we did that with, little preparation. This year, we're going to have a lot of preparation for it, so there should be a significantly better event. But set up exactly the same way, although having a more local band down on 3rd Street instead of just amplified sound. But again, just a lead up to the bigger event, which is the Independence Day celebration at the amphitheater.
John, did we have a band last year?
We did not, we just had amplified sound.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
I had somebody contact me related to this issue, and the issue was that at 10 o'clock selling alcoholic beverages at 10 on a Sunday, it'd be better if it was after lunch, so noon. I think that's really their push, was that's during church hours. So I think that's why they'd prefer you to move it to noon.
Well, the event itself would be from 10 until 6,
Okay.
but the alcohol sales and consumption wouldn't start until noon. So I should have probably
Okay.
added that in there. but-
Okay.
Okay.
Alcohol sales after.
They didn't show it there.
Yeah.
We just said 10 to 6, we didn't see the 12.
Yeah, it's easier to get the street closed a little bit earlier in the day before traffic really picks up and get all the vendors and everything in there.
And then also, just touching on that as well, I mean, this is on a Sunday, right? So we have churches all around there.
Right.
Right, so I would not be in favor of having bands prior to noon either.
No, that wouldn't be before noon either. This is, pretty much the 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock would just be.
Getting there, setting up, doing
The
your
ancillary
vendor.
vendors that we have all set up, people coming in, more like a farmer's market where people come in and shop, just mingle and.
So could we push it to 1 to 6 for the bigger sales? That way it gives the
1 to
church their time to leave. Well, they might want to grab one on the way out the door. I don't know.
Depends on if you're preaching or not, bro.
Depends on the church.
How about 12:30?
They might.
What time does the event start? The actual event start?
The event starts at 10, just because for road closure purposes and getting all the vendors in and set up, we have it starting at 10 o'clock. But that's not for the band starting, and that's not for the alcohol sales.
What's that?
I didn't hear that.
He said the state law was 12 noon for consumption.
Yeah.
He's correct.
Well, he just said 12.
Pass that along.
Yeah.
Huh?
So any other further,
No, the store,
any,
consumption is 10.
any other further questions?
12 o'clock, is that what you said?
What's that?
So, hey, guys, I'm not debating with the audience here, right? So this is up here, so I would ask that, we keep it down so we can do this. So,
Said 12 o'clock.
12
He
minutes.
said 12 is one time they're planning on doing it anyway.
Right.
So,
So just let them know not before 12.
no, as to say, we'll say permits to 12 o'clock.
Yep.
All right. So you're good with that? No bans prior to.
That's really how we planned it, but we didn't.
Some churches do go a
Didn't
little
translate that
longer,
on the paper.
Okay. All right. All right, any further questions for staff or for DSDC? Okay. All right. Do I have a motion?
Talk about a motion?
No.
You got this one, John.
All right. I make a motion, we approve as submitted to council. Just to clarify for any confusion that our packet says 10, that 12 is the actual time as for alcohol sales and ban usage.
Second.
Just a little clarity there.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, motion carries. I believe I only have one. Dog park. Right, I only have one opposed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear any other votes. Okay. All right, now moving on to the next business item that was removed from the consent agenda. This discussion regarding the dog. So, and that's consideration and request for approval to award a bid in the amount of $12,250 to David Hinton Construction for a walkway and concrete work at Second Street Dog Park. Gary?
All right, Mayor and Council, Parks and Recreation Department is requesting to finish out the dog park project that we started throughout the course of the year. This was a project that was added to the budget last year during discussions. It was not one of our original requests, so I think it was more council request, for the lights and for shade structures and for the concrete pads and the tables and the benches to go on the concrete pads. Two of the reasons we want to do the sidewalks to the shelter pads is, number one, it creates accessibility. That park is not accessible at the time. So if anybody has a wheelchair, they cannot get to the shelters, they cannot get through the dog park where it is. And it's also a safety factor. Dogs dig. When you're underneath the shelter where the benches are and where the tables are, they lay around, and that's where they dig a lot of holes, and that would eliminate a lot of the holes under the shade structures. We sent out an RFQ, got 2 requests back. We actually sent it out twice. We got 2 responses, and David Hinton Construction came back at the least expensive price of $12,250.
Okay. Any questions, comments for Gary?
Yeah, the only concern I have I don't have any really concern about upgrading the park. My concern is that it's a matter of, we don't own this park. And when it comes back to, again, land we don't own, putting amenities into the ground and stuff that on a more permanent basis of stuff that we don't own is an expense that I don't think is something we really need to be looking at getting land that we own to be putting these type of structures in. So it's more of a statement of that than it is related directly to this dog park. That's just why I want to make sure we brought it up so that we get on the record. We need to be looking at spending our town money on amenities on properties that we own. And if we don't own enough properties, we need to be out buying the properties to put it in. Getting a lease on land that we don't own is a short-term, maybe long-term, short-term fix, because eventually we will own it. So everything we put in there is not guaranteed to last. How long is the lease on this property?
It's a year-to-year lease. I don't think there's anything, I've never seen one in our office.
So the point is, we could, not saying we're going to, the point is, we could put this in, and the next year they decide they want to take the property for some other reason, and nothing we can do about it. See, and that's my concern. Not saying they will, but just saying that those are my concerns about putting amenities and stuff that we don't own. So,
Any other comments or questions?
The budgeted amount for this, was there anything else budgeted in this group, or did we budget the whole 30,500?
No, it didn't budget the whole 30,500 for the concrete. That was part of the group for the shade structures, the lights, the concrete work, and the benches and tables.
But we've
It
already
was
got
one
the
lump
rest
sum.
of it.
Yeah.
And this request is, if approved, would be under the 30,000?
It would still keep us all under the, it would keep
Within
the whole
that
group under the 30,000.
budgeted amount?
30,500.
For the
We
total
already got
project.
The rest of it.
Yes,
The lights, the benches.
Yeah, shade structure.
shade structure.
It looks good out there. Appreciate it.
Gary, have you
Well,
thought
it
about
does.
putting some off-street parking by chance, by that fence, maybe off-street parking? Now that you got that development, it's been,
Oh, you talking about between the fields and,
yeah, up between two fields, there's maybe like enough.
or
area
off the
to
road
park
part,
six
right there on the road?
cut out,
I mean, we could.
Park a few, because you got cars on both sides now with that subdivision, they park there and they get their dogs out, and another car parked in front of their house, I don't want anybody to get run over trying to get their dog out. So, you
And
thought
that's
about
something
maybe some off-site parking?
Well, we've looked at different, options of parking, maybe in that old First Citizens lot, if we could get that cleaned up and use that and even put an entrance on that side.
I say, what a
We
pause
could
on that
put
development.
parking there at where the batting cages are, it would cost.
Gary, to Dr. Barber's point, could you, it doesn't have to be tomorrow or next week, just whatever, maybe part of your budget presentation, get a list of parks that we have leases on and kind of
The only two
terms?
properties that we don't own, that we lease are Civitan
Johnson
and
and
Johnson
this-
Park.
Okay. And those are, well, the answer, those are both year to year? Never mind then.
So I understand that accessibility, but my only concern about putting in more concrete around the benches and so forth, I don't, but the dogs are going to poop. And everyone's not always the best at cleaning their dog's poop up.
Right.
And at least if it's on the ground, it will, eventually. But if it's on that concrete, they don't clean it up, it's going to be probably a maintenance
Right, I mean, we'd have to
issue.
go, we'd have to go
And I certainly hope people
spread
would.
off, and I would think that, on the concrete where everybody can see it and everybody sees them do it, they'll,
I hope so.
and I think they do a
hope
better
so,
job at
right?
the, pretty good job at the
What I
dog
was thinking,
park for the
they
most
keep
part.
that park, must be
Yeah.
keep it
I mean,
up
it
good.
just would be my, for what it's worth, right? I certainly understand the need and the request for it. I just think that could be an issue, right? So,
the only thing I'm going to make is, that is an outstanding park. You've done a great job with it. It's outstanding. I mean, it is. So, well used. A lot of people use it.
we need to start charging a tax for out-of-town usage, though.
Skinny.
They got them. Some towns have those. You have to have them.
Any other questions,
Pass.
comments, thoughts on this? If not, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to proceed as listed.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the request. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Now, moving on to our next item was budget discussions, I think. Is that where I am, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. That is there. The council stated that perhaps at some of these meetings, they may want to have budget discussions depending on how the evening goes. So it is there. It is also there in case the council wants to recess this meeting and meet again on just the budget prior to the March 19th meeting.
And we do need to go into a closed session, so I'll remind the council that we need to go into a closed session. So but my recommendation is move to a closed session, but that's up to you guys.
Do a closed session.
Go to closed session.
Council comments first.
Yeah, councilman comments too.
Yeah, I know.
What about the question is, he said move it to another night, or do we just carry it on to, how full is our agenda for that other meeting coming up in 2 weeks?
We have 2 public hearings
Oh, yeah.
scheduled at this time.
Oh, yeah. So do we have some other time we can meet for the budget? I guess that was your question.
But we can always, we don't have to decide that. We can decide it tonight. We don't have to decide that tonight. We can send out, and try to get some dates for strictly for budget sessions like we've done in the past.
Mayor, I think with consideration to that, certainly give the clerk and the manager authority to say our agenda's full in regards to how important the budget discussion is if we don't have the additional night. But just, obviously, that's totally up to you as well.
Sorry, I don't understand what you
So
mean.
I was just kind of making a joke that we should be able to say our agenda's full. But I know certain things come along, because
as
with in
far as
regards
what's
to the flow of this meeting, tonight has been much more productive with the, without having as many topics, I feel like personally. But that was what I was referring to with the clerk, because I know how they book all this stuff. It gets complicated. But let me rephrase it. It's important for us to book ourselves for budget discussions at the right time. Because I don't want us to push it, and then we don't have, but the manager's got a fine draft budget already prepared for us. So you guys have already been working on it, so.
My question is, the question is though, if we do we adjourn this meeting to a certain time? You know what I mean?
We
recess,
wouldn't
do we recess it for it? I'm sorry, that's what I was looking for. I'm struggling today. Do we recess for a time to do that between now and then, and they choose the time? Or do we have to, because isn't there a time that we have to let people know if we don't? I mean, we can't just say.
We'll have to advertise.
How many days?
We'll have to advertise the meeting. And so,
How many days?
what, 48 hours?
48 hours, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so.
That's not that far,
So it's
that's
one of
easy.
the- Yeah. But, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and try to decide on time, then we can do that as well, but.
I'm good with that.
All I'm saying is my recommendation is to finish up, go into closed session. If we wanted to come back, we could do that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I would,
Yeah,
thank you.
and it might be, we may be in closed session for 2 hours.
Yep, okay.
Right, so who knows? Who knows? So, anyway.
Y'all might be.
Hey, we
So
have
any way you
been
need from
there.
us.
All right, so I would say then we will come back to that if we need to at the end. We'll move now to council members' comments. We'll go through that, and then we'll go into closed session. Any council members, and we'll do the manager's report, sorry. Any comments this time from anybody on the council?
Yeah, let's don't take 2 hours.
Let's hope not, Bob. So, I 100% agree with that one, Councilman Lee.
Mayor, I have a few comments, so I'll be very, very brief, but you and the council appointed myself and Councilmember Stevens to serve on the steering committee for water sewer regionalization to meet with the county. And I feel it's my due diligence on that committee to keep everyone up to date. And I'll be very brief. There's been some many meetings. The last meeting we had seemed to be, there's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of issues that is being discussed. But if I could say very positively, the unity and the discussions with all parties' interest and ask liability or concerns, I would say, it seems to be a good discussion. But I just want to make it clear that this is a steering committee. There's been no decisions made into reference to anything. But the reason I wanted to bring it up tonight is we were given some information, and I want to make sure to get this to the council, on some of the ideas and that this thing may take on moving forward in regards to that. But that's really all I have. They give us several proposals, or I would say not proposals, examples of other areas that have had to cross this bridge. But with that said, I want to make it clear that, as I've shared with the committee and, of course, this council, it's always been on my heart to make sure that whatever transpires is that we keep our end users in mind, and that is our customer. And the model that hopefully we can adopt will have that as a clear objective, and that allows some unity in the cost of construction to lay on the backs of the developers in regards to the projects. There's been a lot of discussion about land use. That's a hot topic amongst the county, but in regards to the water sewer, we know that our resources for the future are limited countywide because of many things, including the growth in industry. But I just wanted to bring the council up to date, and if you have personal questions, and I don't know, I certainly can try to find the answer, but I'll be glad to provide the same literature that I was provided to each of you so you guys can stay abreast of the topic as it's coming forth. But that's all I have. And thank y'all for us allowing us to serve on that committee.
Thanks to both you and Councilman Stevens. But yes, if you could get copies of the information.
I will get an email together, and I'll get it.
And I know it's
for all of it from us.
I know this is just an examples, right? But definitely as this thing progresses, I certainly think the more that it comes to the council when they kind of stay abreast of what's going on.
Because there'll be a point where we'll have to take some action.
Absolutely.
Sooner, whether or not how in-depth we want to go. So, thanks, Travis.
Yes, sir.
Great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Thank you.
I missed last one.
That's fine.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a whole lot this evening. I just wanted to point out a couple of dates. At Parks and Recreation, we have the Mother-Son Dance on April 13th, and we're also scheduling our annual litter sweep for Saturday, April 20th. So people who would be interested in assisting the town with that litter sweep, be April 20th. There'll be more information to come. Also, our next meeting is on March 19th. Again, it is at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question, Manager?
Is that liquor and beer?
Yes, sir. Sorry, Councilman. On the state grant we got for the restroom facilities, will that be taking place before Ham and Yam by chance? Any of that be done or not?
I'd be surprised if we get there, because we haven't even got plans to build yet.
Oh, so you just got the money, but you don't know exactly how you, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I did, okay.
All right. All right. If that is it, I do need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, Section A5.
Make a motion.
A motion from Dr. Barber. A
Second.
And a second from Councilman Scott. All in favor? Aye. All right. We'll go into closed session at this time. Thank you.
I think she said